Welcome to Greater Good Radio Hawaii, where leaders inspire leaders. Greater Good Radio Hawaii is dedicated to social entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Evan Leong, and with me is my co-host, Carrie Leong.
You're not originally from Hawaii. Could you tell us where you were born and raised?
I was born in New Hampshire and was raised in New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Boston.
And what brought you to Hawaii?
I was working for Federated Department Stores in New York and received a call from a very good friend of mine who was a headhunter asking me if I'd be interested in working for duty-free shoppers in Hawaii. I said absolutely not. I had absolutely no interest in working here, and it's a long story, but 2 months later I came to Hawaii.
So how long were you with duty-free shopping?
I joined Duty Free in February 1983, and I retired in May of 1997, so almost 15 years. It's an interesting story how I got here. As I said, I received a call from a very good friend of mine who was a headhunter, and my career was progressing well at Federated, and I had no intention of leaving. But my whole family was invited out to Hawaii and spent 3 days talking to Duty Free, and I thought they're very, very nice people, and they gave me an offer. My son had an opportunity to go surfing and visit at Punahou, and I went back to New York. And friends of mine in New York, through the grapevine, heard that I was talking to Duty Free and said, if you go out there, make sure your son goes to Punahou. I couldn't quite pronounce it, but after doing some research, I found what a wonderful school it was. Over the months, and these discussions were very protracted, and had wonderful meetings with Duty Free, and I decided I just couldn't make the move and told Duty Free, I'm sorry, but unless my son can get into Punahou, I can't come. And they said, well, it's February, there's nothing they can do, it's mid-year. A week later, Punahou called, and my son got in, and 2 days later, I got on a plane and came to Hawaii.
Your career has taken you through 14 countries, you said.
I have moved 14 times in my career. I think I've worked in 7 countries.
Which one has been your favorite so far?
It's a toss-up between Europe and Japan. I've spent a great deal of time in Japan at Duty Free, traveling there throughout my career, and in 1992 I was transferred or promoted to Japan, and I moved to Tokyo, and I was there for 6 years. And I loved Japan. My wife and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and still have many friends there.
You also mentioned that you were involved in the store in Alaska. Could you share with us, I guess you had mentioned earlier that there was a volcano that erupted when you were managing that area. So could you share with us that story?
That's an interesting story. When I came to Duty Free, they had many locations, including Alaska, and I told the chairman that's one place I'll never go. And of course, it's one place I did go. And at the time, I left Hawaii, I became the president of the Alaska division in 1989. And at the time, it was the largest airport operation that Duty Free had. And I'd been there about 2 weeks, and I had been asked to join the public radio board, and I was on my way to my first meeting, and my car phone rang, and my assistant told me that a volcano has just erupted. And I said, well, what's that mean? And it means they've closed down the airport and we're out of business. Anyway, in the course of 18 months, I had to downsize Alaska. It lost half its volume in the first year, and it was a very, very difficult assignment, because I think people in Alaska are quite similar to people in Hawaii. They're very loyal, and we're very loyal duty-free employees, and it was very, very difficult to either have to transfer them to other places around the globe, or to retire them early, if you will, to lay them off. Very, very difficult.
How long were you in Alaska?
1.5 years.
So how did you deal with that crisis situation, being that you had to downsize these people and try and get sales back up, crossing your fingers that the airport's going to be operational?
Well, the big problem was that airlines, because it came at a time when the new aircraft permitted the aircraft to fly directly from Tokyo to Europe. They bypassed Alaska, so we were expecting a downturn. This just kind of accelerated the downturn. So there wasn't much we could do for the first 3 or 4 weeks because the airport was closed because of the volcanic ash that continually hovered over the airport. But gradually it cleared, and approximately half the airlines came back. But it's very difficult to market to the airports or airlines when they see the danger of flying through Alaska. So many of them had alternate routes, either through Moscow or the southern route through New Zealand.
How do you deal with that as, you know, you're president of this duty-free in this one area that's counting on people coming in on airplanes? Now it's shut down. How do you not worry what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day, and how do you just rebuild from there?
Well, in that case, it was impossible to build because the customer base was gone. It was important that we try and do what's right, and Duty Free always did what was right with the employees and took very good care of them, tried to transfer them. But in terms of recapturing that customer base, it was impossible. So it's you move on to other things. Eventually, the division was consolidated into the North American division, and I was transferred to run that operation.
What was the greatest learning lesson you took out of that experience?
You know, that's a very good question. I think it's important to really take care of people, those people that took care of Duty Free for so long, to be able to take care of those people. And even though we carried many people for a great deal of time, Duty Free was very supportive in my plan to retain as many people as possible, giving them an opportunity to transfer to other places around the world, and/or we put together very favorable packages for them and tried to find them other employment. So it was a slow process. So I think the learning lesson there is, in a crisis, it's important to take care of those people that took care of you, and I think we, by Duty Free, stood by them and did the right thing.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more on Greater Good Radio.